Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio, coming to you guys live. Now, got a lot of things to talk about today, mainly what took place over at the United Nations because, well, Trump decided to take a giant dump on everybody. I'm not going to lie. It seems like we just, as the United States of America, decided that we're just going to piss off every single country on the planet with our stance and what they're doing. I mean, I don't even know how to explain this. Like, not only did we back Israel, which pissed off a ton of people after their so-called decision to back, like Palestine and be able to declare it a country, which means quite literally nothing other than their own personal statements of that. It's like me standing up right now and declaring that France should be a sovereign nation and that all of these different parties across France that no longer want Macron ought to, they ought to have their own little territory over inside of France. So that's a thing. Also, while we talk about all of that, I also got to bring up the fact that we just kind of whitewashed this guy, Al-Julani, who got invited over to meet with Marco Rubio today. Huge freaking thing. And that whole whitewashing just ends up getting covered up as well. You know what else has been covered up? The insane health benefits of cocoa flavanols. The compounds found in cocoa that boost nitric oxide, improved heart health, and regenerate brain cells. Before you roll your eyes like you just flip through the heavily redacted Epstein files, this isn't some woo-woo nonsense. Let me show you. Harvard scientist William Lee actually backs this up. Check it out.
Studies have been done to show that the flavanols in cocoa stimulate stem cells to come out of your bone marrow like bees in a beehive in your bloodstream, and they go out and they find wherever it needs to be repaired. If it's in your heart, they'll fix it. If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it. And so we can eat foods like high flavanol cocoa in order to be able to actually get the stem cells to work a little bit better. Now, how do we know this actually functions, it works in people? Well, clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that in like men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month. Yeah. And they doubled the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved measurably. And then what's even more important and impressive is that there was a study called the Cosmos study that was completed recently that showed that eating high flavanol cocoa decreases the risk of cardiovascular death. Yeah. Right, over a period
like a statin.
Like a statin, right. Exactly. Except made with by eating the same thing that you use to make chocolate. So we're not telling people to go out to have chocolate, which is a confection, which has got a lot of sugar and all kinds of other stuff in it. Yeah. But it's the stuff underlying it, the core of it.
Now, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, dark chocolate. But here's the thing. Flavanols are the good stuff found in cocoa beans, but they're usually destroyed during the chocolate making process.
Did you hear what O.J. Simpson juror?
Shush, you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Black Forest Supplements comes in. They've created the first ever high flavanol cocoa powder packed with everything your body actually needs, and it's only 20 calories. I mix it with my coffee or my protein shake, and it tastes amazing. This stuff can boost your body's natural stem cell production. Hollywood elites drop $50,000 on placenta stem cell injections, but you can just drink cocoa powder and get the same benefits without selling your soul for it. And I've been using this for a while now, and brain fog, it's gone. Energy, it's up. And let's be real, as men, we need to be strong, mentally sharp, and in peak condition. And no one's going to take care of us but us. Being your own hero starts with physical fitness, lifting weights, building endurance, eating the right foods, and taking the right supplements. Here's the deal. I worked out an exclusive offer with my guy over at Black Forest Supplements and to hook you up with 40% off for the next 48 hours. But the stuff always sells out, so don't wait. 40% off for the next 48 hours. Only hit the link in the description below and pinned comment to stock up before it's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are ready for a great show. We've got one coming up for you. Thank you guys to Black Forest Supplements for sponsoring today's episode. You know, I thought I liked Charlie Kirk before, but then I came across this video.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are 3 major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion. And Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those 3 things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim majority country, most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality of life?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion, from whether people want to live there, from prior to the native-born fertility rates.
Again, people watching this will say is your criticism of the religion itself or not Muslim people? Because there are British Muslims who have been born here.
But you don't have to caveat it all the time. I know you guys have to because you're British and all that. A culture ceases to exist when we don't have unified language. When you cannot talk to your neighbor. I'm not discounting that there are good individual Muslims. The question that we need to reckon with the West is Mohammedism compatible with the teachings of Blackstone? Is it compatible with the legacy of Wilberforce?
All right.
And the great thinkers that have come from this country? And I will say, no, there's a reason why when you go to these Islamic countries that you're not going to see the equal protection of rights, that you do not believe in universal human equality, that you do not believe the same things that we believe in the West. And I think it's suicidal to import millions of them.
Yeah, and you know what, just on a passing point on that, it's most of the time, as far as I'm concerned, it's not even multicultural. Because there was a school a few months ago during Easter which cancelled Easter celebrations out of respect for other faiths. So it's not as if the word multicultural and
it's kind of common sense, man. You can't have a freaking country that runs on Islam and say that it's compatible with Western society. Take, for example, I don't know, pedophilia. In the United States of America, marrying a 6-year-old might be frowned upon. Having sex with her when she's 9 might also be frowned upon. But I guess we can't talk about that stuff over here in the United States of America. Bronx Gun Hillard coming in with 99 cents. Appreciate your donation, brother. And CJ says, welcome back, Matt, from Art in Christine in Beavertown, Oregon. Well, it's not Beavertown, it's Beaverton, and it's not Oregon, it's Oregon. We all know that, right, man? If you guys are from Oregon, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Danny Golan coming in, gifting out a Speak the Truth membership. Before we get going, let's keep her on rolling. So, like I said, everybody's crapping over on the UN. Trump's been doing a very good job, but somebody that's actually been really silent as of, today, really, has been Iran. And before we get into this, I need to actually bring up Iran, because this is always the big question that I've been bringing up with everything that's been going on over inside the Middle East is Iran going to get another airstrike conducted on it for all of its nuclear weapons crap? Now, I told you guys last week, or was it the week? No, it was the week before last. Last week I was in Israel. So I told you guys last week that Iran had actually signed a deal with the IAEA, keeping on with the non-nuclear proliferation agreement, right? Well, then we have Iran coming out today saying the U.S. side says Iran mustn't have enrichment whatsoever. What does this mean? It means they're saying this great achievement for which our country has worked so hard should be destroyed. The Iranian nation will slap anyone who suggests such a thing and refuse to accept it. Now, he actually continued on with his rage just a little bit further. He says, today, we have reached an advanced level in uranium enrichment. While countries aiming to develop nuclear weapons enrichment uranium up to 90%, we have limited ours to 60% because we have no need for such weapons and have intended not to pursue nuclear weapons. It's really cute that he ends up saying that, because last I checked, the IAEA also found traces of uranium over inside of Iran that were enriched up to 87%. So I guess they decided to stop just under the threshold by 3%. They were like, you know what? We want to see if we were actually capable of developing a nuclear weapon. And it turns out we are. And so we're just going to leave it at 87%. And then we're going to keep a massive stockpile from 60% and then just jump it up to 87, 90% whenever we so feel the need to do it. Man's absolutely lost his mind. Now, here's something that Trump also did today to, again, piss everybody off. I see people saying for a pants check, no, sir, not today. Always last in line coming in, gifting out Speak the Truth membership. Thank you very much. Trump, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russian military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine will support, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started is very much an option. Why not? Look at that. So it looks like Trump has finally realized that a lot of the things that people have been telling him are Lulu. Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it's very much making them look like a paper tiger. Wow, it's like he finally flippin' figured it out. When the people living in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what is really going on with this war, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through the long lines that are being formed and all of the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better. Ukraine will be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble, and this is the time for Ukraine to act. In any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Now, it's kind of funny that he says that he wishes all countries well, while at the same time saying, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and call Russia a paper tiger, and we're going to just start supplying them with more weapons, right? We're just going to keep putting more and more weapons into Ukrainian hands via NATO. NATO can do what he says, whatever they want with them, which we all know what that means because Trump passed a little law earlier this year saying that, or he made a statement earlier that NATO can basically buy weapons from the United States of America and give them to Ukraine in any way that they want. So that means that Russia has got a lot of weapons that are going to be coming in their direction that are made in the great old United States of America. And at the same time, he goes and tells them good luck. I mean, honestly, it's a troll on Russia, and I, wish them farewell. At the same time, I mean, Trump is just crapping on everybody. Here we go. Trump addressing the UN.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. What is the purpose of the United Nations?
Woo! Those are some strong words right there coming from Trump. What is the purpose of the United Nations? Very good question. I've been wondering the same thing myself ever since I got back from Israel. I actually wondered that when I was over in Israel and discovered that the UNRWA and the World Food Program have been ushering in weapons and equipment for Hamas via humanitarian aid convoys, while simultaneously somehow losing 98% of their frickin' shipments that are supposed to be going to the people in Gaza. Meanwhile, the the Gaza, oh man, my frickin' head is about to explode. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is delivering 100% of their food. None of it's getting frickin' looted, and all of it's getting out there to those people. So yeah, UN, what exactly is it you're doing? Because you guys are all standing there and pontificating all day long, but Trump didn't stop just there.
For those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia.
Ooh, that's a freaking hard one, right? So not only is he saying we're writing strong words and hoping that something happens because of it, he's quite literally calling out the United Nations, all right? Condemning Russia, condemning all of these people while at the same time turning around and buying freaking oil from Russia while they're fighting Russia. Yeah, it's a slap in the face. Sky God coming in, gifting out to 2-0. Speak the Truth memberships. Pack Loud and coming in with $4.99 says, while Euro might not agree with him lately, this will bolster the strengthen NATO and Europe in the long run. You're absolutely correct. That's very likely to happen. And truthfully, they all need to hear this because what they have been doing is nothing short of retarded.
It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling.
You know, Donald Trump, I also like to speak my mind, and I also like to speak the truth, as is the name of this channel. And I can't help but think of a better way to do it than simultaneously calling you out, because your very own Secretary of the State today decided it would be a good idea to bring in probably one of the biggest piles of garbage that I could ever think of to step foot on American soil, Al-Julani, an al-Qaeda terrorist, and just doing it, I don't know, 10, 15 days after 9/11, after we all stand there and we say, we will never forget. You literally brought in a member of al-Qaeda into the United States of America and had the Secretary of State shake hands with him. And then on top of all of that, we end up sitting him down with frickin' David Petraeus, who is, God forbid, concerned about the amount of freaking sleep that he can get, because everybody knows the amount of sleep that Julani gets is very, very important. And by the way, let's also let him know that Petraeus is one of his biggest fans.
So this next one is about you personally. How are you holding up under all this pressure? Are you getting time to do some thinking? Are you getting enough sleep at night? Again, I've been there, and it is so very, very hard. And your many fans, and I am one of them, we do have worries.
Oh, let's hear that again.
One of them.
What?
I am one of them. Your many fans, and I am one of them.
Oh, right. So the former director of the CIA comes out and says that he's a fan of Al-Julani. A POS is responsible for killing American troops over inside of Iraq. Let's not forget about that. So David Petraeus, thank you very much for being a raging pile of garbage, because before we even get into the next segment, we start talking about the Trump administration going off on France, going off on every other nation that decided that they wanted to recognize Gaza as a Palestinian state, saying that we're doing nothing but fueling Hamas and giving terrorism more freaking bravado, building them up, encouraging them to continue to tuck more terrorist attacks. Here we are in the United States of America doing the exact same thing with Julani. I feel like I woke up on a different planet today. Like, on one side, we have a very great statement, which is, don't be funding Russia by buying their oil and gas. That's embarrassing. And on the other side, what you're about to see is us going off on France and going off on every other nation for wanting to turn Gaza into a Palestinian state, along with the West Bank, and, you know, recognizing the PA, who's a freaking terror organization, in my opinion, the way they raise their kids and what they do, absolute freaking atrocities. And then we turn around and we platform this guy. And on top of that, we actually let him meet up with the Secretary of State. Yes, that's brilliant, man. Why didn't we do that more often? And you know what? You know what else we should do? We should just give him an interview and ask him all sorts of questions about how he got the way he did. You guys want to see something really cool? How about a video of Julani, just to remind the Trump administration of when he was praising Osama bin Laden for the attacks on September 11th. وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم Same guy.
محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد إخواني المسلمين في كل مكان أهل الشام الكرام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته نشكر الإخوة المشايخ في قيادة جماعة قاعدة الجهاد عامة ونخص بالشكر الشيخ الدكتور أيمن الظواهري حفظه الله ونائبه الشيخ أحمد حسن أبو الخير حفظه الله نشكر لهم موقفهم في تقديم مصلحة أهل الشام وجهاد. Do we get it yet? Do we get how stupid we look as a nation, as supposedly the world leader, as we sit there and we condemn all of these other countries? Gee, I wonder where they got the cockamamie idea to recognize Gaza, to recognize the Palestinian Authority. Is it maybe because one of our oldest enemies that we literally fought a 20-year war against, one of their commanders who we arrested for killing Americans, we put the dude in charge, like, of another flipping country? Look, I'm wearing pants. For the love of God, man. Paul Allen, thank you very much. I don't know, they're not pants, they're short. I'm like, God dang it, man. You guys have the absolute worst timing sometimes, man. I'm in the middle of a giant rage and you're like, you know what? Matt's going off and he's about to get this channel canceled. Maybe I ought to just donate some money to get him to do a pants check so he stands up and gets off his rage before he says some really heinous stuff and gets himself taken off the air. It's probably not the wrong answer, to be perfectly honest with you. God bless, man. All right, well, here we go. Now,
at the same time, we do have to give Trump a little bit of praise, because while I can sit here and crap on the guy, I can also sit back and go, yep, there's some other dumb stuff that the UN's actually been doing.
People with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%.
Woo!
Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists.
You know, I saw it hit the comment section, and then somebody ended up deleting it. I think one of the mods did. Somebody commented on maybe we need to do the singles meetup. You know, I mean, it's a thing. You know, I was very honest about it for a while. Jasmine, you're about to freak out. Remember the last time I said no, I can't do that because I'm dating, things like that. Well, guess what? That's not happening anymore. So maybe we do need to have that after all. I have no idea. All right, let's keep this sucker rolling, because God forbid we have Trump back at the UN yet again, giving more comments on just how stupid they all are, because now he's saying that Europe is in very serious trouble.
Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained.
I actually can't believe the results that are coming in on that poll that I just posted. That's absolutely nuts. I actually thought that we'd have a heck of a lot more married people than we actually do. All of a sudden, we're sitting at 60-70% of you guys that are actually voting yes. We need to make that happen. That's nuts to me that there's that many people that are going, absolutely, we need to make that happen. Now, I warn you guys that I'm dumb enough to do such a thing. I will make that happen. If you guys are going to force my hand, I will set that up. We can make that happen if you guys are going to make me do it. Don't you dare make me do it. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lanta. All right, let's go on with the next one. Oh, that's Jelani. I forgot. I already ranted and raged about him. So, yeah, as I rant and rage about Jelani, I want you guys to read this. This comes from John Guandolo. All right. And he says, in August of 1998, I deployed to Africa and scraped parts of Americans off the walls of the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi, Kenya, after Al-Qaeda detonated a vehicle bomb there, killing 211 people. Al-Qaeda simultaneously did the same thing in Tanzania. I spent several weeks in Kenya sifting through the rubble, raiding the home where the bombs were built, and ended my time by flying the operations planner logistical chief, Mohammed Sadiq Ode, back to New York to face trial. In 2001, I helped recover the remains of murdered Americans out of the Pentagon after Al-Qaeda flew a plane into it. I've been to a number of funerals at Arlington for friends who died fighting and killing these barbarians. Over the last 2 days, America's leaders kissed al-Qaeda's butt via Al-Julani and told the entire global Islamic movement America is here for the taking. Islamic law, Sharia, requires Muslims to fight more aggressively when infidels demonstrate weakness and submissiveness. He's not wrong when he states that. America's leaders are literally encouraging exponentially more violence to be brought against the American people. The U.S. government is letting every American know they do not give a crap about this country or any of us, but they do care about al-Qaeda. Now, I personally am with him. I think that the United States of America just set a very, very dangerous precedent that as long as you fight long enough and you gain enough territory, that the United States will sit there and capitulate and agree that you somehow are running as a de facto leader of your own little place. That to me is garbage. And at the same time, we're sitting there and we're complaining about some of the things I'm about to put up, which is going to be the recognition of a Palestinian state by several countries inside of the UN. It's freaking ballsy to me that any of that's going down. So while we're having that, here's Macron.
The time has come. This is why, true to the historic commitment of my country to the Middle East, to peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, this is why I declare that today France recognizes the state of Palestine.
Yep, that happened. Jay Dolan, Hassan can't sit on stools without engulfing it to the floor. Yeah, I agree. Eternal Core says this whole thing makes him sick. Feels like he feels ill just watching it. I'm with you. And so therein lies the problem. United States inviting in Al-Julani, a man that had a $10 million bounty on his head this time last year, whose organization he ran was a designated foreign terror organization a year ago. And today, we are somehow celebrating all that. Somebody says donation to remove the ads. Well, I guess I can do that for you. I think I can do that. Let me go in here and see if I can figure that out real quick. Yeah, you guys are tired of the ads? Let me go ahead and turn those off. I don't mind doing that. You guys just return the love. Say bye-bye to the ads, ladies and gentlemen. They are gone. So this is my big issue. Thank you, Incog Faraday. I forgot to turn them off, right? I just got back in the saddle after being gone, and I'm still catching up on my sleep, so give me a little bit. Thumper33 says the UN and France can recognize these nuts, right? So what precedent are we setting when we recognize Julani running Syria, but we sit there and we crap on the French and all the other nations that decided it'd be a good idea to recognize Palestine? Yeah, I got news for you. Julani isn't a president, yet I guess he is now because we declared he is, right? And we haven't even got to what Erdogan said from Turkey. Let's hear from Mr. Macron again as he sat down next to Donald Trump.
The day after in Gaza to stabilize the land. And we need a political perspective. And this is why we took this decision on recognition.
Well, I have to say that I'm on the side of Israel. I've been on the side of Israel really my whole life. And we are going to get a solution. And it's going to be a solution, hopefully, that's good for everybody. But it's time to stop. We're going to have that very important meeting. I think the meeting we have coming up in the next hour is going to be one of the most important meetings that we'll have here. And we've had some important meetings. We've had some great meetings. And I understand where you are and where other people are, too. And we just have to get this solved.
Justin Winch came in. He says Trump just spit on the face of every vet from 2001 all the way up to present day. Sorry, Justin. I'm going to go ahead and correct that for you a little bit because, believe it or not, today we still are fighting the global war on terrorism. Just a lot of people are unaware of that. But yes, it's still going on up into present day. And again, we're going to sit there and we're going to condemn Macron for coming out and stating that, he's going to recognize Gaza, but at the same time, we're going to recognize an al-Qaeda terrorist and actually bring him over into the White House. Here's Trump's statement on that, by the way.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
So to be clear, recognizing a Palestinian state would be a reward for Hamas's atrocities. But recognizing Al-Julani, removing a $10 million bounty from his head, and recognizing him as the president of Syria is not.
Including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now.
Yeah, release the hostages. Don't reward Hamas, but at the same time, don't reward Al-Julani, whose men are literally murdering Christians over inside of Syria as we speak. That didn't stop. It's ongoing right now. I've seen videos that I can't put on the screen. Al-Julani's men are literally committing genocide inside Syria right now. For those of you that don't know, they're murdering Christians, and they've been doing so all year. And they're even murdering the Druze again. The Druze are still under siege. And a lot of you guys don't even know about that, but it's absolutely true. Mike Huffman coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships, alongside Aaron Mejia also gifting out an additional 5 Speak the Truth memberships. You heard that right. If we reward the Palestinians by giving them a state, or we reward Hamas, it's just going to create another October 7th, but we just rewarded Al-Julani by recognizing him as the president, shaking hands with the Secretary of State, and having David flippin' Petraeus interview the guy. Meanwhile, his men are over inside of Syria right now murdering Christians and going after the Druze. For the life of me, I can't understand the hypocrisy in that statement while we sit there and we call out the United Nations for all of the BS that they're doing. While we sit there and we call out their hypocrisy for waging a war against Russia by providing all of these munitions, but at the same time, they're buying their oil. We can't reward terrorism, but what we can do is we can award them a presidency. Paul Allen says, biblically, Turkey is one of the nations that will rise up against Israel in the last days. Iran, Persia being another. Sadly, as a Christian, in his words, Trump apparently is not aware of this. Well, I'm going to get to Erdogan here in just a sec, all right? Because the first thing that I'm end up showing you is the millions of flyers that were dropped over Gaza City and the thousands, hundreds of thousands, estimated 200,000 people that still remain there. You guys see that, right? You see all the people on the street getting the flyers, telling them to get the hell out of Dodge. 200,000 people estimated still remain there. Israel will protect the Druze. Danny, you're not wrong. They are. We actually talked about this in a particular meeting. I don't think the Druze are going to end up getting murdered anytime soon. I got a feeling that somebody's going to step in and take care of that problem. So, Al-Julani, maybe think about what you're doing. And I give the same warning to Iran. Right? Last time Iran decided to buck up, I took a picture of Soleimani's face after he'd been blasted by a Hellfire missile with his teeth and his face all busted out, and said, Iran, remember what happened the last time you did this? And they apparently didn't want to listen to me then. People were like, whoa, where'd you get that picture? I'm like, it's a small world. Don't do dumb terrorist things, and maybe you will survive. Holy crap. All right, well, let's see what else Marco Rubio has to say after he met up with Al-Julani today.
Mr. Secretary, Fox is exclusively reporting that Hamas wrote a letter directly to President Trump asking for a pause in fighting for 60 days in exchange for half of the hostages. Do you know if this letter has been delivered yet? And will the president entertain this idea?
I don't know who they gave that letter to. It wouldn't have mattered, though, because the president's been clear, and that is that we haven't seen the letter. We don't have that letter. And even if we did, it wouldn't matter. The president has already made clear he's not interested in 60 days, 10 people. He wants all the hostages out, all 48, including the 20 who are alive, 28 who are deceased. He wants them all out. There should have never been any why are we even talking about hostages? Why do we still have to talk about hostages at this point?
Because you guys have been negotiating with Hamas ever since. Ever since your administration got in office, you were negotiating with hostages. That's why people are asking about it, because this administration, its entire time it's been in office since January 20th, has been negotiating with Hamas. So I think it's a fair question that the news actually ask you about it, because that's what you guys have been doing. Oh, by the way, you also just propped up Al-Julani. You, sir, shook hands with him.
Shouldn't be any. They should all be released immediately, period. That's the president's position. So he would have rejected that offer had it come, but we haven't seen that letter. I think they gave it to the media or somebody, but they haven't given it to us.
Mr. Secretary.
Oh, great. I think they gave it to the media. Well, praise God, they gave it to the media, and he's concerned over people asking questions. Holy freaking cow. Well, Trump, at least we know, doesn't like Hamas.
Well, I think it honors Hamas, and you can't do that because of October 7th. You just can't do that. But we want our hostages back, and we don't want them back in, ones and twos and take the next 2 years to do it. We were the ones that got the hostages back. And I always said, I told Steve, I told Marco, I was always saying the last hostages are going to be the toughest ones. But you can't honor them by doing anything like you suggest. All you can do is say, we want our hostages back, and we want the war to end. We're going to want it to end. But you always have to remember, people forget October 7th was one of the most savage days in the history of the world. There's never been anything like that. We're talking about babies being sliced in half. You're talking about young children having their heads chopped off. You can't forget that. Well, I think it
I got asked whether or not I saw that in a comment section over on X after being allowed to watch some of that footage that hasn't been released. And my comment in that is, I don't know if that's what I saw, because the bodies were so ridiculously mangled. I have absolutely no flipping idea if that's actually what happened. No clue. None. I do know that I saw bodies that were so small and so mangled that they were pretty unidentifiable, particularly whether or not they had heads, limbs, because they were so flipping charred that you couldn't tell. I do know that plenty of children were killed that day. I do know how many kids I've seen. I do know that rape occurred in both females and males at least 6 different locations, and that has been confirmed by the UN. I do know that post-mortem rape kits were turned in. I do know that to be true. And let's go ahead and welcome in Charlie Kirk for the next set of comments on this.
So, it's funny. I used to say that, hey, if you as a gay person would go to Gaza, they'd throw you off of tall buildings, right? Now they don't have any tall buildings left, so I don't.
When you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Is that too soon? I'm sorry. Maybe you shouldn't kill Jews, stupid Muslims.
That's a pretty valid statement. Everybody that's crying right now over what's happening, I've got mixed emotions about whether or not that footage needs to be released to the public. I truthfully don't. I wouldn't want videos of me being raped to be released to the public. I wouldn't want videos of objects being shoved into any of my orifices post-mortem being released to the public. I wouldn't want videos of my children that have been so charred that appear to be missing limbs, where it almost looks like a pile of goo, to be released to the public. But at the same time, I almost think the world needs to see it. Because for some ungodly reason, they don't believe people like me when I say, yep, that stuff's real. They don't believe people like me when I say, yep, nobody's being murdered at these distribution sites over in Gaza. Here's an hour-long video to prove to you that people aren't being murdered at these distribution sites. Not a snowball's chance in hell that actually happened. No way over 2,000 people. By the way, here's evidence that the World Food Program and the UN RWA has been smuggling in things like hydrochloric acid into Gaza, and it's being turned over to Hamas. By the way, here is a screenshot of a bunch of dead Palestinian people that were stealing food off of UN trucks, and Hamas murdered them. And yet nobody wants to bring that up. Everybody wants to cry about the Palestinians and this alleged genocide that's taking place, and this alleged murder that's taking place by the UN and by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and Israel. But nobody wants to talk about the absolute truth that Hamas is actually out there murdering them. I will say, at least our Secretary of Defense is pretty dang clear in what we as Americans support.
Big audience here. Many of them seem to be patriotic supporters of you, Mr. Hegseth. Some of them seem to be liberal critics of you. I would note that it's only the liberal critics that have disrupted this hearing. As was my custom during the Biden administration, I want to give you a chance to respond to what they said about you. I think the first one accused you of being a Christian Zionist. I'm not really sure why that is a bad thing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Zionist. Zionism is that the Jewish people deserve a homeland in the ancient Holy Land where they've lived since the dawn of history. Do you consider yourself a Christian Zionist?
Senator, I'm a Christian, and I robustly support the state of Israel and its existential defense, and the way America comes alongside them is a great ally.
Thank you. Because another protester, and I think this one was a member of Code Pink, which, by the way, is a Chinese Communist front group these days, said that you support Israel's war in Gaza. I support Israel's existential war in Gaza. I assume, like me and President Trump, you support that war as well, don't you?
Senator, I do. I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas.
Weird that your global war on terror vets have seen what the heck those animals have done and support making sure that every single one of them is wiped off the face of the planet. It's quite literally that bad. I made the statement before when I was over in Israel, and I'll make that statement again. Hamas should not be compared to ISIS. Hamas is worse than ISIS. And I can base this on one very simple fact. That at least ISIS gave people a chance to convert before they killed them. Hamas just kills everything and everyone they see. Everything from dogs, puppies, people dancing in the open, people that surrender, people with their hands tied behind their backs. Just murder them. Shoot them down as they're running away. Literally doing what Muhammad commanded and killing Jews hiding behind every single rock and tree. It's pretty dang sad that we even have to bring that up. Wildcat Mahone coming in, gifting out $2. I appreciate you, sir. My brain hurts. But let's go ahead and let's take a look, because I told you guys I would, at the other rhetoric that's going on over inside of the UN, particularly with Erdogan.
Photo. As you see, these are people. These are women with these cups that they are holding in their hands, cups and buckets. Just feel your conscience and answer the following question. Can we possibly have a reasonable reason for this brutality in 2000?
Verminator, Hamas is worse than ISIS. I promise you, Hamas is worse than ISIS. You don't think they are. I promise you they are. And this is coming from a man that's fought ISIS, that's liberated multiple towns that got taken over by ISIS. I'm telling you, from what I have seen and what I know, the information I know to be true, Hamas is worse than ISIS. You wouldn't think that, but they are. I didn't think it was possible either. I didn't. I didn't think it was possible for a terror organization to be worse than the Islamic State. But it turns out there is. There's a reason that Hamas fighters idolize them. There's a reason you see them wearing the Islamic State flag and all of that crap from time to time. But I promise you, they are worse. That's not me making it up. That's not just something I think in my head. That is based off of literal evidence that I've seen and the things that they have done. I promise you, they're worse. Hamas is not taking war brides. I do believe that Sinwar's entire plan, and I've detailed it and I've laid it out. And maybe I'll do that here in a minute. You want me to tell you why Hamas is worse than ISIS? Let me finish trash on Erdogan over here, over at the UN. And I'm going to lay it out for you exactly as to why. C88 says, as GWAT, I 100% agree. Mary says it's facts. A lot of people need to realize this. Hamas is worse than ISIS. People that say Hamas is ISIS, no. Hamas is worse than ISIS. It's a fact. This photo that Erdogan is holding up, this is a staged photograph. And we've talked about it on the show. This is actually taken off the back of a truck. That's not even a real fence. It's taken off the back of a truck. And we've seen that. Taken off the back of a truck. You want to know why Hamas is worse than ISIS? I'll tell you why. Because they literally, in my opinion, have planned the entire freaking thing going on in Gaza to get rid of their people to take down the state of Israel. I wrote this article over on X. I pinned it up this morning. Danny says, if you saw the raw footage, everybody would agree. I would agree with Danny. I wrote this. It's called Manufactured Genocide. And in my opinion, it's 100% what Sinwar's plan was and what he planned on doing. This is why I'm telling you that they are worse than ISIS. They have manufactured this thing since day one, not so that they can somehow triumph over Israel, so that everything everybody has seen and everything you see on the world stage taking place right now where Israel's being condemned, not so that Hamas can take over Israel, so that the international community condemns it and gets rid of it. If Turkey or Egypt decided today, or Qatar or the Kingdom decided that they were going to bomb the IDF operating inside of Gaza and state that they were doing so in order to stop a genocide, who on the world stage would intervene? Serious question. I don't think a single person would stop them. I think they'd allow it to happen. And I think that's a direct result from everything that was manufactured. Don coming in with 1999 says, your drive and hard work is impressive. You don't stop until you've got the truth. Great job, and thank you. Prior to all of this stuff going down, before it all went down, I identified three main components that I feel like Sinwar made sure were in place before they launched the October 7th attack. Number one, media manipulation. Number two, a food crisis. And number three, the complete and total destruction of Gaza. His plan, in my opinion, was to martyr every single person in Gaza by any means and method, is what's written down in their charter. And that includes killing every last one of their own people. We know for a fact that they went inside and they manipulated the media beforehand, that they have like actual news contacts. There's an article, or there's a video over here of the PIJ spokesperson. I know PIJ and Hamas not the same, but the PIJ spokesperson says that Hamas was doing the exact same thing and they were coordinating together, making sure that the appropriate narrative was getting pushed at all times. Then we can talk about the manufactured crisis that was taking place with the UN, RWA, and with the World Food Program, where you have literal members of Hamas that not only were captured on October 7th, murdering people and dragging their bodies off, all right, but also controlling the flow of food over inside of Gaza to the point where any of that food that was going in and out of there, they controlled it. They controlled the distribution to the point where it pissed off the Palestinian people to where on October 30th, they decided that they needed to raid an UNRWA warehouse just to get their own food. They have been starving their own people so that they can claim people are starving. Did you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? And the reason they did that is because that's how they're smuggling in their weapons and equipment into Gaza, is through the humanitarian aid, which again was set up beforehand. And now you don't get to say that that didn't happen, because we have literal evidence of it taking place. You're welcome. There's the image for you, and there's the location where I took this photograph just last week of hydrochloric acid being smuggled into Gaza. You're welcome. This wasn't going on GHF distributions. This was going on World Food Program UN distributions into Gaza. Now we know why they're not giving out food to the people, on top of being able to control the market prices and everything else in order to fund their jihad. but also to ensure a steady flow of humanitarian aid going into Gaza in which they can do that. Lastly, these monsters built the freaking tunnel system and put rockets in every school, mosque, anything they could come across. So vast that Israel was forced to drop as many bombs as they did. The reason Rafah is leveled is because of how target dense it is. I'm telling you right now, Gaza City is just as bad when it comes to target density. And if we're going to take it a step further, like let's not mention Hirsch Goldberg killed inside of a frickin' school, right? A tunnel inside of a school. God forbid we talk about that taking place where he was frickin' killed at. These monsters are also taking IEDs and placing them out of Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution sites and setting them up so that they could murder Palestinians that are going to get food because Hamas has been starving them for the last 2 years, and placing massive IEDs like this one seen on your screen that was detonated in place on August 3rd last month for people that were coming in to get their own food. This IED, had it not been caught, would have killed hundreds of people. Hundreds. You have tens of thousands of them that are running down these roads in order to go get food. And they set that right in the freaking path of these people to kill them so that they could blame it on Israel and GHF and anybody else so that they could convince people that all of this was going down. And August 3rd, by the way, you look at that date and when that came from. That's back when they were accusing GHF of murdering everybody. Now the mainstream media has picked it up and moved on with it, right? That's how bad they are. They literally infiltrated the UN. Disobey. There is a site that shows what they did on October 7th, but I can't share the name because of censorship. It shares some of it. It doesn't share all of it. I promise you that. It does have some different clips and stuff like that that are on there, and it is extremely horrendous. But I'm telling you right now, there's 10 times worse crap that exists that is not on that site. Post-mortem gang rape. Those 4 words in a row. Post-mortem gang rape of both males and females. Weaponized sexual violence. Starving their people to make sure that they could push a narrative. You think if they starve their own people, you think if they do the types of things that we have described to you, that for some reason that they wouldn't willfully murder every single person in Gaza to take down Israel. You are grossly mistaken. This is Hamas operating out of a UN site over inside of Rafah. When I tell you that Hamas is worse than ISIS, I mean Hamas is worse than ISIS. They don't care. And it's funny to me that people are sitting back trying to pretend like they do, when quite frankly, they just don't. They don't give 2 craps. This is the actual distribution sites. This is where they're claiming. This is what's so wrong. Look at all these people out here. Excuse me, let me pause it. Look at all these people out here that are lined up, sitting there nice and peacefully waiting for all that to happen. They don't want this to happen. These are the people that they tried to kill with that IED I just had placed up on the screen. These people. And they have an army of nut jobs online that are trying to convince you that for some reason these guys are killing everybody. Now, why would they do that? If they really cared about these people, if they really love these people who are over here getting humanitarian aid, actually like well distributed to them, by the way, like I'm not even sure, like medical attention as well. This lady was a heat casualty. These medics are taking care of her. Samaritan's Purse, treating foot injuries, treating all sorts of different injuries that these people come to. Not to mention like the children when we ended up getting outside. Yeah, you want to see how horrible they're treating everybody. We get up outside and the kids are literally screaming and they're happy to see me. It's insane what people have been led to believe. And God forbid Tucker Carlson watch this video and come out and make a correction. God forbid Piers Morgan watch this, come out and make a correction. Nobody will do that. But what they will do is they'll put things up on headlines to try to convince the entire world that Hamas isn't that bad. Part of me wishes that every single person watching this tonight would be able to see that video, to see those different videos of what exactly was taking place. And I will say that even though this man was stupid enough to shake hands with Al-Julani, at least he's smart enough to make this statement.
There is no Palestinian state, no matter how many papers they put out. And the only time there'll ever be one is if there is a negotiation with Israel, which right now is impossible because they have a war going on with Hamas, a terrorist group that butchered over 2,000 people on October 7th, just almost 2 years ago. And so as long as that's going on, the whole thing is irrelevant. It's almost a vanity project for a couple of these world leaders who want to be relevant, but it really makes no difference. Now, I will say the impact it has had is it actually derailed, it made Hamas, talks that were going on, it made it even harder to get Hamas to enter into concessions that might have brought this to an end. And look, we think there's a window of opportunity right now to pursue it. The only leader in the world, really, that can sort of broker that or bring that together is President Trump. That's why every country in the region, and frankly, every country in the world, including many of those involved in this recognition effort, are begging the president to get involved in this issue. There is no Palestinian state, no matter how many papers they put out.
It's nuts to me. It's nuts to me that people don't understand like the issue, the problem of everything that's going on. It's nuts to me that we have an administration that's recognizing Julani while sitting there saying that we can't have a Palestinian state. And again, you wonder where the world's getting it. And I can sit here honestly behind this microphone and I can crap on the Trump administration and I can give them praise at the same time. Praise for not recognizing a Palestinian state, but at the same time calling them stupid for recognizing Julani, because it's quite literally hypocrisy when we sit there and we condemn France and other nations in this world for recognizing a Palestinian state, while this man sat there and recognized Julani as the leader of Syria, while Christians and Druze are getting murdered as we speak. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'll at least say this. I'll say this before I take off. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio. Join me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time for another live episode. I hope you guys have a great night, good evening, peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I am out of here.